All right, so with NBA, we got the trade deadline that happened last week. We got first of all, the biggest trade, at least in my lifetime, and Luka and Anthony Davis. But another one you got that happened was Jimmy Butler heading up to the Bay. They've already played a couple games now with the Warriors. They're 2-0. They've been happy about it. A conversation was had with Draymond Green. Was it on his podcast? It was on the Draymond Green podcast. Here's what he had to say about them acquiring Jimmy Butler and what Steph Curry told him.
Like, we got Jimmy Butler. Like, this is no small deal. It's Jimmy Butler. Steph, after the trade, he looked at me and he said, man, it's crazy because it just dawned on me that, like, this is it. Like, this is
the last run.
Last ride. Like, and I said, let's do it.
Let's ride to the wheels fall off.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
It was an emotional moment.
So they call it the last ride already. Let me first start by saying, this is another example of when we talk about, man, can something stay between us? Can anything stay between me and you? You know what I mean? Steph Curry talking to Draymond like, hey, man, it's our last ride. Let's do what we got to do. Let's give it our all. Like, I didn't mean for that to be public. That was between me and you. But again, Draymond has a podcast. He's got a podcast to sell. He's got, folks to get to listen to the show. But I just felt like, dang, that was between he and Steph. But he just said it, so now it's out there, so let's talk about it. They acquired Jimmy Butler. They look good right now. They say, Jimmy said, look, I've never been a guy to shoot a bunch of threes. Steph, obviously, as we know, shoots a bunch of threes. I'm more of a defensive guy. Steph not necessarily known for that. They like that they're the opposites on each end. And they're calling this the last ride. And I think it makes sense, Rob, because remember Steph Curry said he didn't want this organization to fall flat and give up any and everything for the sake of him, to sell the whole team for the sake of him, and then once he's done in 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it may be screwed for a decade and never be the same. So this last ride actually reminds me of kind of what we're witnessing as well in L.A. Who knows what's going to happen, but the Lakers go out and get Luka is for the future. But LeBron, I'm sure, looks at it and says, man, this is for the now. Me and Luka for a year or two, this is the last ride. Now, while I don't believe the Warriors have enough, I don't think Jimmy Butler moved the needle enough for them to do anything to actually be real contenders in the Western Conference and have a chance to win
the rest of the team or no? Warriors.
No, they gave up Andrew Wiggins. They gave up slow-mo, as they call them, and some picks as well. But I do enjoy the idea of seeing a possible last ride for Steph, for a year or two, last ride for LeBron and them. And if they're competitive, I think that's great for the league if your main star players are actually competitive, not just in the NBA, as we mentioned earlier a couple hours ago, not just Kevin Durant on a Suns team that ain't really doing nothing. But if you have a very competitive Warriors team, a very competitive Lakers team with LeBron and Luka, with Steph and Jimmy and Draymond, and they're making noise, and for the last year, this season, maybe next year, I think that'll be good for the league as you begin to slowly start ushering in the new teams that potentially and the new stars can take this league and hopefully, as the Adam Silver would hope, and even us fans of the game, to the next level. So if this is that Fast and Furious last ride, like we watch with the Fast and Furious, even though they're on like the 16th movie, I hope it ends up being a fun one where we get to see the last little bit of Steph and it's fun and it's before he's broken down and old. And the same thing with LeBron before he's broken down and old. I want to see another year and a half or so where this can be entertaining, and then they just hand the baton over to the Wembys, the Anthony Edwards, the Ja Morants, the LaMelo Balls, and things of that nature. They don't have enough to win it, but I
think it's a desperation move, and I think it's silly. And I get it. You want to feel like you're not wasting Steph's. You gave up Wiggins, who's younger. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler's been banged up. He can play. I'm not saying the guy can't play. But you're giving up picks, you're giving up Wiggins, like that's not the future. Do you really think, a beat-up Draymond and Steph, who's not even playing that well himself,
right,
is really gonna come somehow win the championship or get to the finals? No. I don't see it.
I think they just want to look.
I just don't see it. I get it.
Themselves, look at Steph and say, we tried.
They don't want to be embarrassed. They lost at home this year by 40 points. 40 points, 4-0. So I'm not saying you throw the towel in, but I'm not giving up picks and I'm not giving up younger players. I just don't understand that. If you don't, there's a lot of teams in the West. I don't look at the Warriors as one of them.
They're looking at it as the ownership group is saying, You know how much I'm spending on you guys? You know how much I spent over the last 7-8 years?
Put more bad money, good money after bad money.
Yeah, and that's what they're saying, hey, I need, for me, Joe Lacob, it's rings.
So So we didn't want to pay Klay.
Well,
but now
Jimmy better than Klay, though.
No, but my point is you didn't want to spend money there, but now you're going to go and give a 35-year-old who's been banged up, I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying, but Jimmy is a way better player than Klay.
But I'm trying to say, they acted like they didn't have money for that situation, and I'm not saying they had to break the bank, but then you go give it to a player, A, who held a team hostage, right, and B, is hurt a lot. And is aging. I don't
think
see
the other issue, though, Rob, with Klay it wasn't just simply the money. It was that he actually thought he was better than he was and had been for the last 3 years. And
but at least
he was starting to get disgruntled. No, I agree with that. He had the equity, without a doubt.
Compared 100%. To Jimmy Butler.
100% he has the equity
who
with
didn't
the team.
win anything. Like, you could say, he got the Heat to the finals. I get it. To the finals twice. But he didn't win anything. I think if you win, it gives you a little more cachet.
I think the issue with Klay was where they needed him to be, he didn't want to come off the bench. He did it, but begrudgingly. He didn't really like it. He didn't want to give way for the young. He talked about it. I didn't handle the situation right. I wasn't the most humbled and best team player towards the end. He wasn't. He was not that he just lost his way as a player. He was losing his way as a person too, Klay, because he just wasn't handling all those injuries right. He wasn't handling the new role right. It was just difficult for him. Remember, he was mad, acting like he was a top 75 player. Klay, you had a heck of a career, bro. Going to the Hall of Fame, you're not a top 75 player. But he was really upset about that. So I don't know, Klay the last few years was really not understanding where he was. But I think the Jimmy Butler move, again, I don't think it's all of a sudden put them as top 3-4 contenders in the West. Not in my opinion. I still got OKC. I still got Denver. I still have the Lakers up there. Memphis obviously would be sitting right there as well. But for me, if dang it, we get a crazy out of the blue run with Steph, we get a crazy out of the run with LeBron.
But everybody says that. That's what I mean. That is like what people.
I'm talking about desire. What I would love to see. Like, I would love to see a last little one run, LeBron and Steph going at it before we move on to the young person. I would love to see that.
Steph, Klay, and those guys can't even get in the play-in. You know what I mean? Like, I'm dead serious. Like, Steph's had a chance a couple times to advance in the play-in, and they lost. Once I was at home. I don't know.
Just win a ring a couple years ago.
Okay, but that was you think?
I'm just saying they didn't win an actual title.
Was that the team that lost by 40 at home this year? Is what I'm saying.
No, they got the same two, and then if you want to include the coach, same core of those guys.
But I'm just saying. But that's how bad you've
seen.
It
has been rough. That's why they were so desperate, and they were out here. They were putting their Rob.
That ain't
we
the
agreed.
Same team that won a championship
so
a couple
desperate.
Years ago.
They were out there trying to spin the block with Kevin Durant, and we know how bad that went. And it was public. It wasn't some leaking thing. It wasn't some.
Even Kevin Durant was like, I'm not going back there. Are you kidding?
This wasn't a leak thing. This wasn't a we wasn't supposed to know thing. This was out there. That they're like, hey, man, come on back. I know Draymond called you B. I know you felt like you were getting, second fiddle. I know Bob Myers, when he was here, was talking about you ain't Steph and you ain't homegrown like that. And I know all of that. But come on back. That's how desperate they were, for sure. But they're in their mind, they want a return on investment, all this luxury tax they're paying for all these years, and the only way we get that is by winning rings, and that's why they're just throwing things out there, and Jimmy Butler being there. They tried to get KD, said, no, I'm straight. They
going to win a championship? Where are they going?
No, they're not winning no championship.
You going to the Western Conference Finals?
No.
Okay. No. All right, we're on the same page
obviously, we got to see how it play, like the tournament, the route,
I don't
but
think
the Lakers could get there in OKC. I like that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not with the Lakers. I'm saying.
We know you're not. I know you're not. That game just started too. You didn't put money on this one. No shekel on this one.
No.
That'd have been easy money though, because the Jazz are terrible.
Carmelo,
that's why I said easy money.
God. But at least it's not in LA for a second straight night.
The Bulls, Pistons,
2 nights in a row in Chicago.
Yeah, I gotta look at that. Did something happen we missed? Was there?
It was weird. That's why I kept looking. I kept looking at the schedule.
Because usually, to your point, they'll play back to back, but they'll go to Detroit.
Right. That's what I thought. And I was like, wasn't the game in Chicago the other night?
Maybe it was so bad, Rob. They were like, "No, run that back." Run that. That game didn't count. Ain't no way. There's no way we're going to let that score count.
And they let people in for free.
Just come back in. Here, you get a free snack, get a free hot dog, free beer. We're gonna run that back, because ain't no way we can have that be our actual real game.